When it's time to execute, tasks move straight into sprints with clear owners, priorities, and dependencies.
This is the most important book I have ever read. It fundamentally changed me as a person and prevented me from going down some truly dark paths in my life. If there is one thing I wish everyone in the world could read, it is this. This is Fyodor Dostoevsky's Notes from Underground. Walter Kaufmann called it the best overture for existential philosophy ever written, and it convinced Nietzsche that Dostoevsky was the greatest psychologist of his age, and the only one that Nietzsche had anything to learn from. It is the story of the most repulsive, the most wicked, and the most hateable man in literature. And it's also a story about us, exposing the darkest aspects of our psyche that we often like to pretend simply aren't there. So today, we are going to dissect this work of utter genius piece by piece, to illustrate why I truly think that it can change your life and is one of the best books ever written. At points, this video may be deeply upsetting, and it's totally fine if you want to watch it in chunks. But I do recommend that you finish the whole thing, as I promise it will be worth it. My name is Joe Foley, and this is Unsolicited Advice. But if you're into philosophy, then you almost certainly know just how valuable it is to engage with information you receive critically, which is why I recommend you check out today's very kind sponsor, Ground News. Ground News is a website and app that gathers related articles from thousands of sources around the world in a single place so that you can compare how different outlets cover the same story. Each story comes with a clear breakdown of the political bias, factuality, ownership, and headlines of the reporting sources, with ratings backed by independent news monitoring organizations. Ground News are very kindly offering anyone who uses my link or scans my QR code 40% off.
Microphone. Semester. Desktop microphone.
As a light-hearted joke, and argued that this would not affect any Catholic support. I especially like the blind spots feed, which highlights stories that are disproportionately covered by the left or the right, and ignored by the other some. This feed helps readers step into the other side's news reality and understand the different narratives that can shape their beliefs, such as left-wing sources missing allegations concerning a cover-up of Biden's health concerns, or right-wing sources missing lawsuits filed against the Trump administration and RFK Jr. over health cuts. I just don't have a lot of time to keep up with the news, and certainly not to examine every article I read for bias. So receiving my Ground News roundup at the end of every day means that I can get a variety of news opinions, decide which sources are trustworthy, and make the world less of a bewildering mess. Ground News are giving my viewers 40% off their unlimited access Vantage plan. They've genuinely become my go-to news source. I cannot recommend them highly enough, and I really hope that you check them out. But anyway, back to the video. 1. Notes from Underground. Oh.
Você quer ser um gerente de projetos certificado, mas não sabe quais habilidades precisa? O curso de preparação para a certificação PMP na Udemy vai te ajudar. Aprenda as opções básicas de gerenciamento de projeto e prepare-se para o exame de certificação PMP. Acesse e ponha reserva de suas informações. Para estudar como melhor para você. Realmente garante seu curso e continue estudando.
Với Agoda, đặt dễ dàng với giá hiện đại. Đừng chần chừ nữa. Sân chơi đúng mức và bất thông minh. Đặt ngay.
Brief recap. I am a sick man. I am a spiteful man. I am an unattractive man. These are the first words we hear from the underground man. And to be honest, it doesn't get much happier from there. At its core, this book is a confession. It is the testament of a man who has lived a squalid, cruel, and pointless existence. It outlines both his philosophy in the abstract and how he behaves in practice. Notes from Underground is divided into 2 parts. The first part is simply called Underground, and is a sort of twisted essay where our anti-heroic protagonist outlines his theories about mankind, education, egoism, and more. He tells us a few anecdotes about his time in the civil service. He talks about how he used to enjoy tormenting people and denying their requests, how he loved having power over others, but found the work dull and dreary and beneath him, and how he quit at the first opportunity to live in his tiny flat somewhere in St. Petersburg. We'll be coming back to these pages a lot in this video, as these are the unimpeded self-reflections of the underground man, and perhaps the clearest outline of how he sees himself and the world. We also learn some general details about the man. He is 40 years old, he's not sure who he's writing any of this to or to what end, and he considers himself extremely intelligent, capable of contemplating everything that is beautiful and lofty. At the end of this section, he tells us he will relay some stories from his youth, just to illustrate his character further. We also learn that the ultimate aim of Notes from Underground is for the protagonist to talk about himself. This is where the next section, apropos of the wet snow, begins. And here are 2 bizarre tales from when the underground man was in his 20s. The exact significance of these stories in particular is never quite made clear, apart from that their memory oppresses the underground man, and that if he relates them to us, he feels that he may rid himself of this nagging head. I'll leave it to you to decide if this works in the slightest. The first story is an encounter the man had with an officer. He was in a tavern one day and was in the officer's way, but rather than ask him to move, the officer simply physically moved him aside without acknowledging him at all. The underground man proclaims that he could have withstood even a beating, but this action, which carried with it the implicit message that the man was not even worth talking to, not even worth considering,